Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Apex series from Spartus Pickleball. Now, before we get into some of the details, I first want to mention that this series is meant to be an Amazon series. It's meant to compete with other paddles on Amazon. So it's going to be starting out at a price of $80, and after 60 days is going to be going up to $95. There are two paddles in the Apex series. First off, we have the Orion, which is the elongated paddle shape. At 16.5 inches in length, it has a swing weight of 121, which is pretty standard for paddles of this length. It's going to be the more powerful of the two paddles in the Apex series because of its length, which allows for a little more leverage. The Orion has a very long grip at 5.87 inches in length, so basically 5.9 inches, and if you wrap up a little higher on the neck, you can easily get 6 inches out of this handle. The other paddle in the series is called the Odyssey, and it is a hybrid shape. It is 16.25 inches in length and about 7.75 inches in width. It has a significantly shorter handle than the Orion at just 5.35 inches. And I don't know if this is just my paddle in particular, but mine has a very wide neck coming down even just to the start of the handle here. You can see how wide the neck is where it meets the handle, and in the pictures online it looks quite a bit narrower, so I don't know if that's just mine, but in any case it does make it a little harder to get two hands on it, especially if you have smaller hands. It's probably going to be hard for you to get two hands up here higher on the neck. Spartus is calling both of these paddles Gen 1.5 paddles, and you're going to notice some similar tech with these and the Paddletechs. Just like the Paddletech Bantam series, the Apex series is not thermoformed, and it features a fiberglass layer underneath the carbon fiber surface. Another paddle that's been pretty popular that has a fiberglass layer under the carbon fiber surface is the True Foam from Carbon. Especially for paddles that are not thermoformed like these, fiberglass is a good way to add some more pop and a little bit more power without risking anything that's going to create a trampoline effect that might make it fail today's PB core test. Another way that Spartus is making up for these paddles not being thermoformed is by having what they call a phalanx system. Now, the phalanx system is basically this hardened gel that goes around the perimeter of the paddle. What that does is it acts almost like as if you were to have lead weight or tungsten weight around the perimeter. Of course, it's not nearly as heavy as that, but it adds some more mass and density to the perimeter, which allows for the sweet spot to open up some more. Even with the phalanx system, I would still recommend adding lead weights if you want just a bit of a bigger sweet spot and also some more power. Another feature that is new to the Apex series from Spartus is the boost core. Now, the boost core is still a polymer honeycomb core. However, if you were to cut open this paddle, you would notice that the core is actually black. The boost core has 10mm cells, which basically means that these smaller cells allow for more surface area beneath the paddle. So if you were to think about if you had just one giant cell, you would just be hitting air basically beneath the carbon fiber fiberglass layers. So when you have a smaller cell size, there's more of these cells, which means you are hitting more surface area. And this generates some more power and makes the core stronger, so it should be more durable and not break down as easily as cores that have larger cells. Now, just feeling the surface of these paddles, it feels extremely gritty, and honestly I would guess this is probably the legal limit to grit because it really is very gritty. It's basically like a step down from being able to put it on your shirt and have it stick. Spartus is calling this true grit surfacing, and while we do have to wait and see how this is going to hold up over time, you do get really good spin off of it. And so far after playing with this, I haven't noticed any wear and tear outside the usual wear and tear you get on any paddle. Now, when it comes to raw power, for paddles under $100, and especially for paddles around $80, this is, I think, in my opinion, of all the paddles I've tried in that price range, by far the most powerful. Now, I mentioned that this is similar to the Paddletech Bantam series and that it has that fiberglass layer beneath the carbon fiber, but this is not going to be anywhere near the power of the Paddletech Bantam series. In fact, in comparison with the Bantam series, which is quite stiff, these paddles do feel kind of soft and plush, which is kind of surprising given that fiberglass layer and also the core that is supposed to be more durable with those smaller cell sizes. For reference, the Orion paddle actually tested at 0.40 on the new PB core test, whereas the Odyssey tested at 0.41. Now, I don't know if that's just a slight discrepancy in testing, or if somehow the way that they test it, the shape of the Odyssey makes it more powerful, But in general, paddles that are elongated give you more leverage, and therefore you should have more power. For those of you who are familiar with 11.624 paddles, I think that the Apex series is probably half a step or a step below the power of the 11.624 all court series. I guess you could say it is in between the Jelly Bean and the all court series when it comes to power. That's about where this paddle sits. The control on both of these paddles is very good, but it's more of a flat hitting type of control. And what I mean by that is if you were to hit something such as the YOLO Mod TA15, you can really feel kind of the bounce and cushion shaping the ball. And I know I said earlier that these paddles give a plush feel, but the ball doesn't quite sink into the surface like it does on Gen 3 paddles. And I feel like I have to bring that up because so many people now have played with Gen 3 paddles like the Mod TA15 or many others, and they're used to that kind of feel. This is not going to give you that same kind of feel. It is not thermoformed, and it does not have foam layers like so many paddles do today. So while it has decent control, it's more of something like a Selkirk paddle would have. Both the Orion and the Odyssey do get really good spin with that true grit surface that they have. Both of the spin numbers come in over 2100 RPMs, which is really kind of insane for a paddle that is $80. It's easy to compare this to paddles that are $280, $275 on the market and kind of pick out weak points. But when you're comparing this to other paddles in the intended market, which is Amazon, this is, in my opinion, by far the best option, especially if you consider that the infamous Onyx Z5 paddle has an MSRP of $89.99 or $90, $10 more than this is going to be for the first 60 days. That's kind of crazy to think about. So what kind of players should be considering the Apex series? If you're somebody who's just getting into pickleball or you're just starting, there's really no reason not to get this paddle as a starter paddle. I know a lot of times beginners especially will say, well, I don't want to get an advanced paddle, I'm not ready for that yet. But at this price range with $80 and considering everything this offers, you're better off starting with a better paddle like this than getting a cheaper, maybe $40 or $50 Amazon paddle that's going to be fiberglass. It's going to be very hard and stiff and pingy, and it's not going to have nearly the same performance as this. So when you go to your next paddle, say you want to move up to a $200, $250 paddle, instead of adjusting from that fiberglass face and that cheaper feel, you can already have the carbon fiber down and you can be used to that. So when you want to upgrade to say something like in Spartus' case, like the Olympus, it's already a lot more familiar to you. Now, if you're somebody who is just looking for the best of the best in all the categories, you want maximum stats, maximum performance, then this is probably not going to be the paddle for you. But if you're somebody who blows through paddles like crazy, maybe you hit really hard and you're constantly core crushing your paddles or you're destroying them, you don't want to spend $200 on a new paddle every 2 months, this is a great alternative simply just based on the price alone. Thank you for watching my review on the Apex series from Spartus. If you've ever used a Spartus paddle or you own one, let me know in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on it. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.